Hey dragon lovers, we'd love to know where in the world are you watching from. Drop your country in the comments below and join our growing crew of dragon fans from every corner of the globe. If you loved this story and want more epic adventures with dragons, magical realms, and fearless pilots, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss the next chapter. Your support helps us keep these stories alive and soaring. Stay tuned. Keep your wings ready, and let's explore the stars together. Captain Jack Mercer had flown 1,000 cargo runs across the outer belt without any problems. But boredom set in when a lone distress ping lit up on his console, a faint heartbeat in the endless black. He leaned toward the scanner and asked, "EVA, is that real or just another ghost?" "Signal integrity, 37%. The ship's I said in a dry, almost British voice. "It could be a ship or a cosmic belch. Want to toss a coin?" Jack smiled. "Make a plot point. We're not leaving anyone out there if they're dying." EVA sighed. "You have a chronic hero complex." But the nav thrusters turned on anyway. The source was above a burned orange planet called Icarus, which Jack only knew from maps. It was a lonely sphere with sharp canyons and dust storms that sparkled. He could see the wreck through the viewport, a silver and red ship that was almost split in half, with smoke spilling into space. He carefully docked and put on his suit. Emergency lights flickered inside the broken hull like fireflies that were about to die. Something thick and electric pushed against his senses, more felt than heard. Then he saw her, a figure that was both strange and stunningly beautiful, lay pinned under a fallen bulkhead. Her body looked like a human's, but it was covered in scales that changed color from sapphire to molten gold. Big wings that were torn and covered in blood wrapped round her like a shield. A dragon, but not really. Her eyes flew open, and the dim light caught the molten ember. "Stay back," she said in a voice that was both musical and thunderous. Jack knelt down and said, "You're hurt. Let me help." "You are human." She tasted the word like it might hurt. "Not guilty. The name is Jack Mercer. And you?" She paused, her royal face clouded by pain. "Serenya, of Pyrrha Prime." Jack put his shoulder under the bent beam. His calm crackled with EVA's voice. "Captain, the bio readings are off the charts. Suggest being very careful. She could burn you alive." "Noted," Jack said quietly as he pulled the metal free. Serenya winced but didn't yell. Her legs gave out when she tried to stand. Jack caught her, and when he touched her sun-warm skin, he felt a shock of heat run through him. The wreck made a scary noise. Pilot instincts kicked in. "This whole ship is about to blow. We need to go now." Serenya's wings moved round in a useless way. "I can't fly the way to this place. My wounds. Thank goodness I had a ride." He picked her up and carried her like a fireman. She looked light, but she was heavier than she looked because of the muscles under her shiny scales. They had only just gotten out of the docking corridor when an explosion ripped through the wreck and pushed them into the airlock of his ship. Jack closed the hatch and took off his helmet, which made his lungs burn. Serenya leaned against the wall, her eyes dim. "You put your life on the line for a stranger. Let's just say it's a bad habit." In the medbay, the diagnostic lights made her wounds look like they were glowing in the dark. There were deep cuts on her side where sharp metal had cut through scale and flesh. A thin stream of smoke came from them, bringing with it the smell of ash and ozone. Jack hovered, unsure of what to do. "I don't even know if my med gel works on dragon anatomy," she said in a whisper. "I will lead you. But we have to hurry. My blood hurts when it stays." He followed her instructions and mixed a biosealant with a cooling saline. As soon as the gel touched her wounds, a loud hiss filled the room, and a flash of pale blue fire spread across her skin. Jack flinched. "Is that supposed to happen?" "Yes," Serenya said with a sigh. "The flame cleans out the infection. Don't be afraid." He worked quickly, and the heat from her body spread through the air. Every time he touched her, a strange vibration went through him, like her heartbeat echoed in his chest. She lay back when the worst of the bleeding stopped, her sharp features softening with fatigue. Jack said softly, "You're far from home. What happened?" "Hunters," she said softly. "The Shadow Consortium wants the Ember Heart, a crystal that can bring dying stars back to life. My people protect it. And you had it." Her lips got tighter. "I only knew where it was resting. They would have taken it out of my mind." Jack whistled softly. "Treasure hunters from space who also like to torture people. Good. You jest," she said, and a small smile crossed her face. "But you came when others would run away. Can't help it. Old pilot code. If you hear a distress call, you answer." Her golden eyes softened, and something that couldn't be read passed between them. After a long pause, Serenya said, "We can't stay here. If the hunters can find the signal, they will come. I have to go back to Pyrrha Prime." Jack rested against the console. "That's half a sector away, and my ship isn't really made to carry dragon royalty." "Then we have to do it," she said, her voice full of authority even though she was weak. "Captain Mercer, you are brave. Will you lend me a hand?" Helping her meant going into consortium territory, which would have meant death if they were caught. But it was unthinkable to let her die. Jack put out his hand. "Let's make a plan to get to Pyrrha Prime." Her clawed fingers closed round his with a surprising amount of gentleness. "Thank you, Jack Mercer. The stars will not forget. Evie a cut-in, smug. Corset, but keeping a Pyrrhan dragon is a Class 7 crime." Jack said, "Put it on my tab." Serenya laughed softly, like thunder rolling over warm sand in the distance. As the engines rumbled to life and a chorus shrank into the black, Jack stole a glance at his unexpected passenger. She had acquired strength and beauty that made the endless void feel alive, even if she was hurt. Captain Jack Mercer felt the thrill of real adventure for the first time in months, maybe even years. The Zephyr cut through the dark like a silver blade, and Captain Jack Mercer kept an eye on the nav display as the engines hummed low. Serenya was sitting next to him in the co-pilot's chair. Her huge wings were folded tightly, and her scales caught the light from distant stars. Even though her wounds were closed, there was still a faint smell of ozone and ash around her, like a fire that was about to start again. Jack spoke up. "How does it hurt?" Serenya tilted her head to the side, and the lights on the control panel shone in her amber eyes. "Doable. Your Megel is. Useful for human craft," Jack said with a crooked grin. That almost sounded like a compliment. "Don't let it go to your head," she said, but there was a hint of humor in her voice. Hunter's echo EVA's voice broke the silence. "Captain, long-range sensors pick up leftover graviton waves behind us. Could be a ghost. It could be a tail." Jack's smile went away. "Shadow Consortium," EVA said. "Probability 72%. Quick ships. Hidden. They know how to play hide-and-seek well." Serenya straightened up, and the muscles in her neck got tight. "They won't give up. They can't get to the Ember Heart's location." Jack rubbed his chin. "Then we should make it harder for them to find us." He changed the course, moving through an asteroid field like a knife through glass. The ship shook as debris hit the shields, but the maneuver broke up their path. "Not bad," Serenya said quietly, holding onto the armrest as meteors flew by. Jack said, "I used to be a military pilot. I know a few tricks." A tail in starlight hours passed as they made their way through the thick field. Jack made 2 cups of fake coffee and gave one to Serenya. She smelled it out of curiosity before tasting it. She said, "Bitter, but oddly grounding." He laughed. "Helps me stay awake when the universe is boring." Her eyes went to the viewport, where faraway nebulae pulsed like sleeping giants. "We drink the sap from the ember trees on Pyrrha Prime. It glows with an inner flame and connects us to the stars. As a hatchling, I thought that every spark in the sky was a dream that was about to come true. Jack leaned back and listened. Her voice was like the quiet of old fires. He asked, "Why protect the ember heart?" Serenya kept her eyes on the stars. "It is the first flame, born when our world came to life. It can bring suns back to life or kill them. The heart is more than just power. It's also memory. If we lost it, we would lose ourselves." Jack whistled softly, not a lot of pressure. She turned to him, and a small smile broke her serious face. "I have to carry the weight, but you also have it now." A break in the dark loud alarm went off. Evie said in a harsh voice, "There's a gravitational disturbance off the port bow. There is a micro-rift that is letting something through." Jack's fingers moved quickly over the console. Outside, the air moved like water. A Shadow Consortium interceptor came out, its edges shining and sleek black. Jack said, "I guess they found us." Serenya's eyes narrowed, and her pupils turned into slits like a predator's. Their hull has hidden plasmic cannons, quick and cruel. EVA, evasive pattern delta. Jack barked as a plasma beam cut through the air. The Zephyr spun around, lighting up the cockpit in electric blue. Jack pulled hard on the yoke to steer through the asteroid field. Rocks broke apart when the enemy fired, and pieces flew round like shrapnel. Serenya unbuckled and put her clawed hands on the console to steady herself. Their shield frequency is the teen point to tear heads. When it blinks, aim for the spaces. Jack looked at her quickly. "You read shield frequencies like I read a menu at a diner. My kind senses resonance," she said in a low voice. "Believe me, fire and flight." Jack loaded the cannons in front and waited for the telltale flicker that Serenya had talked about. There was a shimmer, like a heartbeat in the dark. Firing, the cannons on the Zephyr roared, and a hot blast broke through the enemy's shield. Sparks flew out of the black craft's hull. But the interceptor got better quickly and fired a bunch of plasma rounds. "Shield's at 60%, Evie said. Serenya's eyes were like molten gold. "I can help." She put her palm on the console before Jack could ask how. A faint glow pulsed from her scales into the ship's circuits, and the systems came to life all of a sudden. "Captain," Evie stammered. "The power core just jumped 20% without overheating." Jack smiled. "I like the way you dress, Serenya." He pushed the engines to their limits with the boost, getting dangerously close to the asteroids. He turned the ship round and fired a concentrated burst at the next opening. The enemy ship exploded in a silent bloom of flame, and pieces of it disappeared into the void. Aftermath, the cockpit was quiet except for the soft hum of the engines cooling down. Jack let out a breath, his forehead slick with sweat. "That was fun." Serenya lay back slowly, and the light faded. "You put a lot on the line for someone you barely know. That's the story of my life," Jack said as he changed the course. "Let's hope there aren't any more like that." She looked at him for a long time, curious and unreadable. "Your bravery is surprising. Part of the job." He looked at her for a second, then turned away. "And maybe the business." A soft laugh came from her, like thunder far away over warm sand. Ghosts from the past. Jack thought about memories he didn't often visit while Serenya slept. The faces of squad mates who have died. A war fought in the dark, where orders made it hard to tell right from wrong. He had left the military to get away from ghosts, but tonight they felt closer. Serenya moved, and her wings rustled. "You carry sadness," she said quietly. Jack looked up, surprised. "You can read minds now." "I read hearts," she said. "Your flame flickers with old grief." He made himself smile. "Yes, life does leave marks. Marks can become constellations," she said in a low voice. "Guides in the dark. Something in what she said made a knot he didn't know he had come loose. Course to Pyrrha Prime, the nav computer beeped. The course was set for the Pyrrha corridor, a dangerous part of space full of pirate hideouts and magnetic storms. Jack looked at the screen. We need a safe place to stay before the corridor. There is a refueling station on Kepler's edge, but it is full of consortium spies. Serenya stood up straight, her resolve growing stronger. Then we stay out of sight. My people will send a signal that only I can see. We have to get to them. Jack looked her in the eye. Okay, it's Kepler's edge, but we keep it quiet and quick. Moments of quiet hours later, stars fell like glitter on the black. Serenya stood by the viewport with her wings half open, their edges catching the light from the stars. Jack came closer, holding a second cup of coffee. To you, not as bitter this time. She agreed, and their fingers brushed. There was a spark of heat between them, though it was small. Why are you helping me, Jack Mercer? She asked, looking down. This quest could kill you. He looked through the glass at the Enderstock. Maybe it's because it feels like more than just another cargo run. Maybe it's because I'm sick of flying without a plan. For a long time, Serenya looked at him. Maybe the stars brought us together for a reason. Jack laughed softly. Let's hope it's a good one. The quiet light he had just turned back to the controls when a faint chime rang through the ship. It was so soft that it sounded like a thought. Serenya's eyes got bigger. She whispered, "The call." My people reached for me. There was a low vibration that pulsed through the Zephyr. It wasn't mechanical. It was almost alive and resonated with Serenya's very being. She shut her eyes and her wings shook like they were praying. Jack was amazed as he watched. What does it mean? They know I'm alive, she said, her voice full of respect. They will show us the way through the corridor. Jack took a deep breath of relief. But then Evie interrupted. Captain, I don't want to ruin the moment, but a new graviton spike just showed up on R6, a lot of signatures. Faster than before, Serenya's golden eyes opened, and they were on fire. The hunters are back. Jack held onto the controls more tightly. Then we should get ready. As the Zephyr sped toward the dangerous Pyrrha corridor, the stars outside seemed to get sharper. Each point of light was a promise and a warning. It was heading towards Serenya's world and whatever was waiting in the fire-lit shadows ahead. Jack slowly guided the Zephyr into the Pyrrha corridor's swirling magnetic clouds. The engines made a low, tense hum. Outside, space churned like a living storm. Sheets of violet lightning danced through a mist of charged particles. The hallway was a maze of unstable gravity wells and sudden bursts of plasma. They would be torn apart if they took a wrong turn. Serenya stood next to Jack with her wings folded tightly. Her golden eyes sparkled with every flash of lightning. The call is getting stronger, she said in a low, steady voice. My people lead us, but the way is dangerous. Jack held onto the yoke more tightly. Perilous is my middle name. Not officially, but it should be. Her lips turned up in a small smile. You use humor to hide your fear. You got that. It burns like thin smoke round you. She looked at him for a long time, almost lovingly. A path of storms, a strong wave rocked the ship, making it buck. The speakers above made a loud noise. Electromagnetic shear ahead. Change the heading 10 degrees to the left, or will be space dust. Jack did what he was told right away, steering the Zephyr through the chaos. Charged particles shot up like meteors against the shields. The inertial dampeners made a noise. Shields at 75%, Evie said. Jack's heart rate sped up. That's okay. A score of 75 is still a C, he grinned. But his jaw was tight. Serenya put her hand on the console. Her scales glowed softly and pulsed into the circuits. I will help keep the flow steady. The lights on the control panel got brighter, and the systems got more stable. Jack said, You keep doing that, and he was impressed. Maybe you and this ship are getting along better than EVA and I are. Don't be jealous, Captain, EVA said in a joking tone. Ghosts in the nebula outside. There was suddenly silence. The storm that was raging suddenly stopped, leaving an eerie calm. Jack looked over the instruments. Feels like the eye of something. Serenya's wings moved. They're waiting for us. Before Jack could ask who, 3 black shapes appeared in front of him. They were Shadow Consortium warskiffs, sleek and deadly, with dark holes that blended in with the glow of the nebula. Ships of the Hunter, Serenya hissed. EVA interrupted. Weapons charging on all 3 targets. Jack's eyes got smaller. Looks like round 2. He loaded the forward cannons, but the skiffs were already spreading out and closing in on them. The leader's voice came through the comm in a crackling, cold tone. An identified freighter. Turn off your power and give up the Pyrrhan woman. If you do that, you might live. Jack tapped the microphone. Sorry. Wrong boat. There isn't a female Pyrrhan on board. It's just me and my toaster. I heard that, EVA said softly. The voice came back, this time sharper. Last warning. Pilot, she knows the secret of the Ember Heart. Give her to me. Serenya's jaw tightened, and her eyes were full of rage. They will never own it. Jack turned off the comm. I guess the talks are over. The chase starts, the skiffs started shooting, and plasma bolts flew through the air like flaming comets. Jack rolled hard to the right, and the Zephyr dove through the stormy clouds of the nebula. Behind them, explosions lit up the empty space. Shields down to 60%, EVA said, planning a way out. Jack called, no available. The air shot back. They're hurting us. Serenya held onto the console. Go toward the red rift in front of you. Only my people know about this secret pass. Jack squinted at the wall of red lightning that was moving round. That looks like it's going to die. Believe me, he didn't think twice. Wait a minute. The Zephyr dove toward the rift, with plasma fire chasing them. Lightning shot across the sky like angry dragons. Jack fought with the controls, his muscles burning as the ship shook violently. Through the red rift as soon as they stepped inside, the world turned red. Energy storms twisted and turned like snakes. The alarms on the ship went off. Shields at 30%. EVA yelled. Jack clenched his teeth. Come on, baby. Stay strong. Serenya closed her eyes and began to chant in a soft, musical voice. The air was full of strange energy. The red lightning suddenly changed direction, making a spiral path that cut through the chaos. Follow it, Serenya said. Jack turned the Zephyr into the bright hallway. The consortium skiffs tried to follow them, but the storm hit like a living thing. Scarlet bolts tore through their hulls, breaking them apart. 2 went off in a fire that was quiet. The 3rd one went off course and disappeared into the storm. The ship broke through and got into open space. Stars sparkled like diamonds on black velvet. Jack let out a deep breath, and his hands shook. He said, that was a nice drive on Sunday. Serenya's eyes got softer. You trust too quickly, Captain Mercer. It saves us. I guess I like to live on the edge. The edge of Kepler, the Zephyr glided into Kepler's edge station hours later. It was a huge ring of metal and glass that orbited a dying blue star. The station was lit up with neon lights and the sound of 1,000 languages. Jack put them in a private docking bay. He warned, we need gas and food, but this place is full of consortium spies. Serenya pulled her cloak tighter, hiding her beautiful face in the hood. I will stay hidden. Jack picked up his blaster and a credit card. Stay close if you want to follow. And don't try to shine. His small smile crossed her lips. I will be as dim as the stars. Shadows in the market, the bazaar at the station was a riot of sound and smell, with the clang of traders selling goods and the spicy steam from alien food stalls. Jack kept his eyes open for trouble. A grumpy mechanic looked at him at a refueling kiosk. "Normal fee, double charge if we're being honest," Jack said as he gave over credits. He saw a flash of black armor out of the corner of his eye. It was Consortium scouts. His stomach tightened. He whispered, "Serenya, we have company." She moved closer, and her presence was both calming and electric. "Go ahead." They moved through the crowd, but the scouts kept up. Jack's heart raced. He ducked into a narrow hallway for maintenance. The scouts came in a few seconds later, guns drawn. Jack took out his blaster. "Looks like talking isn't an option." Serenya's hood fell back, showing her bright eyes. The scouts paused for a moment, stunned by how she looked. She lifted her clawed hand. As she walked down the hall, a low rumble filled the air, and heat shimmered round her. A ring of golden flame suddenly burst forth, disarming the scouts and sending them sprawling. Jack was impressed and stared. "Don't let me get on your bad side. They will tell other people," she said, her voice tight. "We have to go." Close calls alarms went off all over the station. They ran back to the Zephyr. Jack hit the launch button while Serenya strapped in. EVA chimed in, her voice dry. "Did the shopping trip go well?" Jack yanked the throttle and said, smooth as butter. The ship blasted away from the station just as Consortium fighters were leaving the docks. Serenya said, "They won't give up," looking out the window. "Good thing I don't either." A quiet break, the tension eased once they got past Kepler's edge and turned on stealth mode. Jack leaned back, his heart still racing. Serenya looked at him for a long time. "You put yourself in danger again," with a smile. He said, "I'm getting used to it. You're starting to seem like you're worth the trouble." Her amber eyes got softer. "You talk lightly, but what you do matters. My people will respect you." Jack looked her in the eye. "Not doing it for honor." The silence was warm and strangely comfortable. The stars went on and on, like a road of glittering possibilities. How to get to Pyrrha? The call got stronger the next day, and the ship was filled with a low, resonant hum. Serenya stood at the window, and her wings opened a little, as if they, too, felt the pull of home. "There," she said, pointing to a group of stars where a faint amber-red glow was shining. "Pyrrha Prime." Jack was amazed and slowed the ship down. A planet bathed in warm light appeared. Its surface glowed with rivers of molten gold and forests that sparkled like fireflies. "It's so pretty," Jack said. Serenya's voice got softer. "My heart has hurt to see this." EVA cut in, her voice softer than usual. "Multiple planetary defenses found. But they are welcoming." Serenya smiled at Jack, which was unusual for her. "They know we're on their side." The last descent as they went down into the glowing atmosphere. Jack felt the heat of Pyrrha Prime coming through the hole. It was a warmth full of old energy. There were crystal spires rising from golden plains below, and huge dragons flying through amber skies. Serenya's eyes were full of emotion. "We're home." Jack looked at her and was amazed by the look on her face. For a short time, he forgot about the hunters, the danger, and even the endless void behind them. He only saw her strong, bright, and finally at peace. But peace didn't last long. A black flash appeared on the edge of the scanner. It was another ship, cloaked, and it was coming up fast. EVA's voice got tighter. "Captain, we're not alone." Jack's jaw was set. "Figures. I guess the people on the welcoming committee brought friends." Serenya's wings spread out a little, and the golden scales caught the Pyrrhan sun. "Then we stand our ground." Jack smiled, and his adrenaline started to flow. Wouldn't have it any other way. The Zephyr banked toward the bright city below, and shadows closed in as the next part of their fight and their strange, growing bond began. The Zephyr skimmed low over the bright surface of Pyrrha Prime. The heat from the planet rose in shimmering waves that danced across the glass of the cockpit. Rivers of molten gold crossed emerald valleys, and huge crystal spires caught the sun and broke it up into 1,000 prisms. It felt like the whole world was alive and on fire. But the calm only lasted a few moments. Multiple contacts on approach vector. Evie said, her voice tense. Ships in cloaks, coming in fast. Jack's hands moved quickly over the controls. Shadow Consortium, right on time. Serenya stood behind him, her wings half open and her amber eyes reflecting the melting landscape. They dare to walk on holy ground. Jack said, they've been daring a lot lately. Are the Pyrrhan defenses picking them up? Serenya turned her head to the side and listened to something Jack couldn't hear. The elders know, but the hunters are wearing phase cloaks. My people will need time to answer. We'll have to pay for that time. Dak pushed the throttle and skimmed over a sea of shiny black sand. Going down to Ember City deep. Musical voice came through the comm. Child with a star on your forehead. We see you. Take your ship to Ember City's beacon spire. You're welcome. Serenya closed her eyes, and her face softened with relief. Come home. Elders, Jack turned toward a tower far away that shone like a pillar of living flame. Let's hope their welcome includes big guns. As the Zephyr got closer to the spire, winged shapes rose up from the horizon. They were dragons of all colors, and their scales sparkled like jewels. They turned and roared, like a living fleet. Jack forgot to breathe for a second. Serenya put a hand on his shoulder. My family. Don't let me upset your family, he said, his eyes wide. The dragons moved out of the way as they flew down, letting the ship land on a platform of polished obsidian. It was hot but alive, like being near a campfire on a cool night. The old people, 3 huge dragons, whose human-like bodies sparkled with starlight, were waiting for the party. They were so powerful that every move they made felt like it had been made by an ancient being. The tallest one, with scales the color of deep garnet, stepped forward. Serenya, daughter of flames, you have come back. Serenya bowed, and her wings swept low. Elder Marith, I have an urgent warning for you. The Ember Heart is what the Shadow Consortium wants. The Elder's fiery eyes turned to Jack and this person. Jack stood up straight. Captain Jack Mercer helped her out, and a few close calls. A rumble that could have been fun came from Marith. A brave friend. Your spirit is bright. Another elder, with silver scales and sharp eyes, hissed softly. The hunters are getting closer. Their smell makes the sky dirty. Serenya looked at Jack. They will hit before nightfall. Jack looked at the bright horizon. Then we should get ready for a fight. Getting ready for a war, there was a lot going on in the courtyard. Both human-like and full-dragon Pyrrhan warriors got their weapons ready, which glowed within a fire. Jack helped out where he could by strengthening energy shields and setting up defense turrets. He worked with a young dragon soldier named Kale, who was amazed by Jack's ship. Kale gave Jack a coil of plasma conduit and said, Your ship is small but fast. Jack said, That's the story of my life. Small, quick, and full of surprises. Serenya stood on a high balcony above them, eyes closed, and chanted in the Pyrrhan language. Golden flames spiraled out of her hands and into the air, weaving a protective net over the city. Jack couldn't take his eyes off of it. She was bright even in the middle of fire and chaos. Every move was a dance between power and grace. The first hit there was a small tremor in the ground, and then Jack's wrist comm said in a worried voice, Evie, a consortium fleet breaking through the atmosphere. There are at least 6 ships. The sound of dragons roaring together shook Jack's bones. Positions. Elder Marith gave the order. Jack ran to the Zephyr and turned on its cannons. From the sky, black shapes cut through the clouds. They were Shadow Consortium warships, sleek and armed to the teeth. Plasma fire fell from the sky. Molten shards flew out of the crystal towers when they blew up. Jack sent the Zephyr into the fight, moving between the pier and defenders. Lock targets. EVA, let's give them something to remember. Already dancing, she said, and a burst of fire killed a fighter who was chasing her. Serenya flew up in full dragon form, her human body replaced by a beautiful creature with golden flames and sapphire eyes. She roared in defiance and ran toward the enemy, her breath a stream of hot fire. Jack couldn't help but smile. That's my co-pilot. Sci-Fi. The fight turned into a storm of heat and color. Dragons flew round and hit things with their fiery breath, which hit enemy shields. Jack ran through the chaos, shooting fighters with precise cannon fire. But the Consortium flagship was coming down through the clouds. It was a huge dreadnought with a hull that was darker than deep space. They brought the big one, Jack said quietly. Serenya flew next to the Zephyr, and even though she was a dragon, her voice came through the comm. The fleet is driven by its core. We have to get rid of it. Jack said, I'm working on it, and then ducked low to avoid a breach. He saw a weak point, a thermal vent that was open near the bottom of the flagship. Charge the rail cannon, EVA, he said. The AI said, overloading to maximum. Jack set up the shot, but plasma fire hit the Zephyr hard, throwing off his aim. Shields went down to 30%. Captain, EVA warned, if we get hit like that again, we'll be space dust. Then we don't get hit. Serenya sped ahead, sending out a bright flare of flame that drew the flagship's fire. Hit now, Jack. He took the chance and shot. The rail cannon roared, and a beam of pure energy shot into the vent. The dreadnought shook hard. A heartbeat later, it exploded in a burst of blue-white fire, and pieces fell like shooting stars. Cheers rang out on the radio and in the sky. What happened next? The rest of the Consortium fighters ran away, scattering into the upper atmosphere. Pier and dragons chased for a short time before going back to guarding the skies. Jack landed the Zephyr near the beacon spire, his heart still racing. Serenya landed next to the ship and changed back into a person. Her scales were still hot from the heat. You fought with the fire of 1,000 suns, she said, and a warm smile spread across her face. Not bad for a human with a small ship, Jack said as he stepped down the ramp. Elder Marith came up and bowed his big head. Captain Mercer, Pyrrha owes you a debt of flame and honor. You are a friend to our kind. Jack rubbed the back of his neck. Glad to help. I wouldn't mind a drink stronger than space coffee, though. Like distant thunder, laughter echoed through the courtyard. The secret of the Ember Heart later. When Pyrrha's two moons were shining purple, Serenya took Jack to the Ember Sanctuary. The Ember Heart, a crystal of blinding beauty with a living flame that seemed older than the universe, floated in the middle. Jack stared in amazement. That's too much to say. Serenya's voice got softer. It is the first light, the memory of making things. A lot of people want its power, but not many know how much it costs. What cost? To wake up a dying star is to connect your own essence to it, she said. The bearer gives part of their life to the universe. Jack looked at her and understood. That's why the Consortium wanted you. They needed more than just the heart. They needed someone who would pay the price. She nodded, but I will never let them use it. A deep and electric silence fell. A calm link outside. The city celebrated the win with streams of golden flame that spiraled up into the night sky. Jack and Serenya stood close together, and the Ember Heart bathed them in warm light. You put everything on the line, she said softly. Not for duty, not for treasure. Jack looked her in the eye. Maybe I just like flying with you. A soft smile spread across her lips. Maybe the stars really wanted us to meet for a long time. Neither of them said anything. The heart's hum filled the room, mixing with the steady sound of their breathing. Business that needs to be done, but the peace couldn't last. Jack's wristcom picked up EVA's voice. Captain, long-range sensors pick up encrypted messages leaving the system. Someone is sending a report back to the consortium. Jack let out a breath, feeling the weight of the war not yet won on his shoulders. So this isn't done. Serenya's amber eyes grew hard, and a spark of flame flickered inside. Not at all, but we'll be ready when we're all together. Jack smiled with a crooked grin. Then let's be ready. The ember heart pulsed brighter above them, as if it were echoing their determination. The dawn on Pyrrha Prime looked like molten gold across the sky. The city still smelled like burnt metal and ozone, but the sky was calm that came from fire. Jack leaned against the zephyr and watched dragons fly slowly around the crystal spires. Serenya's amber eyes shone in the first light of day next to him. Jack said quietly, "They'll be back. The Shadow Consortium doesn't give up." "They will," she said. "But the Ember Heart is safe today, and so is our connection." Jack turned to her, and a half-smile broke through. "Guess that means we're a real team." Her fingers brushed his, warm and sure, star-marked and flame-bound. Ilda Marith's voice sounded like thunder from far away when it came from the beacon spire. "Because of you both, Pyrrha's heart beats stronger. Go where the stars tell you to go. But remember that you have a home here." Jack looked up at the sky, which seemed to go on forever. There are still a lot of stars to see. The flash of light made Serenya's wings open up, and many battles to win together. Before getting on the Zephyr, they exchanged a quiet look that was both a promise and a challenge. Engines roared to life, a rising song of steel and fire. The Ember Heart pulsed once, a silent blessing, as the ship rose into the purple morning. The war was still going on, but their story wasn't over either.